The dirty truth of medieval hygiene. To the countless medieval individuals who, despite the overwhelming odds, somehow managed to navigate a world without readily available soap, running water, or the faintest understanding of germ theory, your dedication to survival, even in the face of unrelenting grime, deserves a hearty and thoroughly sanitized salute. This book is dedicated to you, not just for your resilience in the face of less than ideal circumstances, but also for providing us with a wonderfully pungent and endlessly amusing case study in the evolution of hygiene. You unwittingly paved the way for the modern-day obsession with cleanliness, a testament to your unknowingly profound contribution to public health. This book is also dedicated to everyone who has ever experienced the existential dread of a particularly stubborn stain, a rogue armpit odor, or the sheer terror of a clogged drain. Your struggles, though vastly different in scale and circumstance, echo the anxieties of our medieval ancestors, who faced similar challenges with significantly fewer resources. May this book serve as a reminder that even in the midst of the most seemingly insurmountable hygiene crises, laughter is indeed the best medicine and perhaps a surprisingly effective cleaning agent. Let us all raise a glass of freshly filtered water, a simple act that would have been utterly luxurious to those intrepid medieval souls, to the relentless march of progress, and to the surprisingly hilarious history of how we learned to keep ourselves relatively clean. May this dedication serve as a testament to our collective gratitude for modern conveniences and, most importantly, for the development of effective plumbing. For who among us hasn't secretly, or not so secretly, wished for a time machine just to witness the sheer bewilderment of a medieval person encountering a modern-day bathroom? Cheers to you, brave pioneers of personal hygiene, and to the future where everyone, everywhere, has access to clean water and soap. Chapter 1. A medieval knows picture this. A medieval marketplace, circa 1347. Not the quaint, romanticized version often depicted in films, but the real deal. Forget charming cobblestone streets. Imagine a chaotic jumble of muddy pathways, slick with spilled ale and something far less palatable. The air, thick and heavy, hangs low, a suffocating blend of aromas that would curdle even the strongest stomach. The pungent perfume of rotting fish, vying for dominance with the equally robust scent of unwashed bodies, competes with the earthy musk of animal dung piled high in the alleyways. A cacophony of sounds, the bleating of sheep, the hawking of merchants, the braying of donkeys, adds to the sensory overload. This, my friends, is the olfactory introduction to medieval life. Let's meet some of the inhabitants of this fragrant, or rather fragrantless world. There's Agnes, a peasant woman, her rough-spun tunic stained with the remnants of a day's labor in the fields. Her hair, matted and tangled, hasn't seen soap in months, perhaps years. Beside her, a wealthy merchant, Thomas, stands in relative splendor, his fine wool cloak doing little to mask the underlying aroma of a body that's only occasionally acquainted with water. Even the noblewoman Lady Eleanor, resplendent in silks and jewels, is not immune to the general malodor. While her attire might suggest otherwise, a closer sniff, hypothetically of course, would reveal a rather less than regal scent. The truth is, the pervasive lack of hygiene cuts across all levels of medieval society. It's not a matter of class, it's a matter of circumstance. The sheer volume of people crammed into medieval towns and cities played a significant role in this olfactory onslaught. Forget about personal space. It was a luxury rarely afforded. Think of overflowing cesspools lurking beneath the streets, their contents seeping into the very fabric of everyday life. Animal waste, a natural byproduct of a largely agrarian society, added another layer of aromatic complexity to the mix. And let's not forget the omnipresent smell of death. With a high mortality rate and limited sanitation facilities, the stench of decay hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the fragility of life. This wasn't merely an aesthetic inconvenience. It was a potent force shaping medieval life. The smell, or rather the lack of pleasant smells, was so pervasive that it played a crucial role in social interactions. The sense of smell, often overlooked in historical accounts, was arguably more vital than sight or hearing in navigating the medieval world. The ability to detect the telltale whiff of disease, for example, could mean the difference between life and death. A pungent aroma might indicate a nearby cesspool, an impending plague, or simply a poorly maintained butcher shop. The nose, in the Middle Ages, was far more than just an organ. It was a critical survival tool. Now let's compare this sensory assault to our modern experience. We live in a world obsessed with cleanliness and sanitization. Our obsession extends to everything from antibacterial soaps and hand sanitizers to air purifiers and aromatherapy diffusers. The very idea of living amidst such a constant olfactory assault would be unthinkable to most of us. Our obsession with hygiene is not merely a matter of aesthetics. It's a testament to our advanced understanding of germ theory and public health. The contrast between medieval and modern perceptions of cleanliness is stark, almost comical. Imagine explaining the intricacies of modern sanitation, the miracle of indoor plumbing, the magic of sewage systems, the scientific principles behind hygiene to a medieval peasant. They would likely be as bewildered as we would be if transported back to their time, overwhelmed by the pervasive stench and the complete lack of hygiene awareness. This book aims to explore that fascinating chasm between the two worlds, a journey through time and scent, punctuated by both horror and hilarity. The absence of widespread bathing is one of the most striking differences. For us, a daily shower is a mundane routine, a fundamental part of our daily lives. But for medieval people, bathing was an infrequent, even exceptional event. The reasons were multifaceted. First, access to water was often limited, especially in urban areas. Fetching and heating water was a laborious task, consuming valuable time and resources. Second, the common belief that frequent bathing was detrimental to health contributed to infrequent washing practices. It wasn't until the Renaissance that the concept of regular bathing started gaining traction. Beyond the scarcity of resources, the religious context often overshadowed the notion of cleanliness. For many, bathing was seen as a potentially sinful act associated with hedonism and sensuality. It's a rather ironic notion considering the overall level of bodily odors present in medieval times. Some religious orders even went so far as to discourage frequent bathing, emphasizing spiritual purity over physical cleanliness. Even when bathing did occur, it was far from the spa-like experience we are accustomed to. Medieval baths were often communal affairs, lacking the privacy we expect today. The water was rarely changed between users, resulting in a rather unsanitary experience. It's safe to say that medieval baths, though infrequent, were far from a luxury. Indeed, they were probably more likely to spread disease than to prevent it. The absence of soap, or rather the scarcity of effective soap, further compounded the issue. Soap making was a complex process, requiring specialized skills and access to specific ingredients. Consequently, soap was a luxury item, and many people had to make do with whatever was available. This often included, shall we say, less desirable alternatives. What about personal hygiene tools? Imagine a world without toothbrushes, where cleaning your teeth meant scraping them with a twig or cloth. The concept of a toothbrush didn't truly emerge until much later. The lack of effective dental hygiene led to widespread tooth decay, a chronic condition that plagued many people. For personal cleansing, simple cloths or sponges might have been used, but without soap, their efficacy was severely limited. The absence of adequate personal hygiene practices combined with overcrowding and unsanitary living conditions made disease transmission almost inevitable. The methods employed to manage body odor were equally fascinating. Medieval people didn't have access to modern deodorants or antiperspirants. Their approach to body odor wasn't about eliminating it, it was about masking it. This is where the perfume paradox comes into play. Medieval perfumes were not the delicate, subtle scents we're used to today. They were often powerful, pungent concoctions, intended to overpower the pervasive stench of unwashed bodies and decaying matter. These concoctions, frequently made from strong-smelling herbs, spices, and other natural ingredients, served as a potent olfactory camouflage. These potent perfumes, however, were more likely to clash with existing odors than to complement them, resulting in a rather complex and unpleasant olfactory tapestry. The use of strong scents became a marker of social status. The wealthy could afford more exotic ingredients, allowing them to mask their bodily aromas with more potent and potentially offensive fragrances. This created a sort of olfactory hierarchy, with the strongest smells often associated with the highest social standing, a completely paradoxical situation. While today we associate strong perfumes with refinement and elegance, the medieval equivalent was a desperate attempt to cover up a rather pungent reality. The use of urine in medieval life warrants a special mention, as it played an unexpectedly versatile role in medieval hygiene. It wasn't simply a byproduct of bodily functions, but a surprisingly effective cleaning agent. In a world where soap was scarce and expensive, urine with its ammonia content served as a readily available cleaner. It was employed in laundry, cleaning floors, and even hair care. The very notion of using urine as a cleaning agent might sound utterly repulsive today, but it reflects the ingenuity and resourcefulness of people living in an era of limited resources. However, we will delve much deeper into this fascinating and frankly bizarre use of urine in the next chapter. For now, we must move forward in our sensory journey through the pungent, fascinating world of the medieval era. The contrast between the olfactory realities of the past and the sanitized environment of today underscores the remarkable advancements in hygiene and sanitation. The great stink was far more than just a nuisance. It was an intrinsic part of daily life, shaping social interactions, influencing religious beliefs, and ultimately shaping the course of history. Let's be honest, the image of a medieval knight shining in gleaming armor, immaculately groomed, is largely a product of Hollywood's imagination. The reality was considerably less glamorous, a far cry from the squeaky clean world we inhabit today. The truth is, personal hygiene in the Middle Ages was, to put it mildly, a hit-or-miss affair. The infrequent bath, often cited as the hallmark of medieval uncleanliness, wasn't simply a matter of laziness. Several factors contributed to the rather sparse bathing routines of our medieval ancestors, and some might even surprise you. First, let's address the elephant, or perhaps more appropriately, the pig, in the room: water. In many medieval towns and cities, clean water was a precious commodity. Access to clean running water was a luxury, not a given. Transporting water, especially in sufficient quantities for a bath, was a considerable undertaking. Imagine hauling buckets of water from a distant well or river, then heating it over a fire, a process that required significant fuel and time, resources that were often in short supply. This wasn't a quick 5-minute shower, it was a major logistical operation. Furthermore, the very act of bathing was viewed through a different lens than it is today. We see bathing as a hygienic necessity, a way to maintain cleanliness and prevent disease. However, medieval people often associated frequent bathing with potential health risks. The prevailing medical understanding of the time, which, let's face it, was rather limited, held that frequent washing could weaken the body and make it more susceptible to illness. The theory was that opening the pores through bathing could allow disease to enter the body more easily. This fear, however unfounded by modern science, significantly impacted bathing habits. A yearly bath, or even less frequently, wasn't considered unusual or necessarily unclean. Religion also played a significant role in shaping attitudes towards bathing. For some religious orders, frequent bathing was seen as a form of indulgence, a frivolous activity that could detract from spiritual devotion. The emphasis on spiritual purity sometimes overshadowed the importance of physical cleanliness. This created a fascinating conflict. A society wrestling with the stench of unwashed bodies and the simultaneously held belief that frequent cleansing was somehow sinful. But the infrequent bath doesn't tell the whole story. Even when people did bathe, the experience differed greatly from our modern expectations. Forget the privacy of your own bathroom. Medieval baths were often communal affairs, with multiple people sharing the same water. The water wasn't changed between uses, and the overall hygiene of these public bathhouses was, to put it politely, questionable. In essence, these communal baths were potentially more likely to spread disease than to prevent it, a rather ironic twist. What about those who couldn't or didn't bathe regularly? What were their hygiene practices? Well, the picture isn't particularly appealing. In the absence of soap as we know it, people resorted to various rudimentary methods for personal cleansing. Simple cloths or sponges might have been used, but without effective soap, these cleaning efforts were limited. Water alone did little to combat the pervasive body odor. For oral hygiene, imagine the struggle without toothbrushes. Teeth cleaning, if done at all, involved rudimentary methods like scraping teeth with twigs or cloths, leading to widespread tooth decay and related problems. And what about dealing with body odor? Modern deodorants and antiperspirants were naturally absent. Instead of attempting to eliminate body odor, medieval people focused on masking it, employing a fascinating and often pungent strategy. The perfumes of the Middle Ages were far from the delicate, subtle scents we use today. These were potent, strong-smelling concoctions often made from herbs, spices, and other fragrant ingredients, all designed to overpower rather than complement existing body odor. The aim was to create a scent that could at least mask the other, less pleasant smells. Think of it as a medieval olfactory camouflage, an attempt to create a new layer of scent to battle the underlying odor of unwashed bodies. The paradox of medieval perfume is truly remarkable. While we now associate strong fragrances with elegance and sophistication, medieval perfumes were often a desperate attempt to conceal the realities of a world where hygiene was a luxury. Moreover, the availability of such perfumes varied according to social standing. Wealthier individuals could afford more exotic ingredients and stronger concoctions, leading to a sort of olfactory hierarchy. Those with access to expensive ingredients could mask their odor with more powerful and potentially overpowering scents, creating a bizarre system where the strongest smells often indicated the highest social status. It was truly an upside-down world of scents. Consider the case of Agnes, a peasant woman working in the fields. Her clothing, stained with the dirt and grime of her labor, provided little barrier against the elements or potential pathogens. She might have used a simple cloth dampened with water, perhaps infused with herbs if available, to wipe her body, but it wouldn't have been enough to combat the odors produced from weeks of unwashed skin. Her hair, if long, would have been a tangled, dirt-laden mess. Any semblance of cleanliness would have been temporary at best. Now contrast Agnes with Thomas, a wealthy merchant. Thomas, while probably not bathing frequently either, had access to more resources. He could afford finer clothing, which at least somewhat helped to mask his body odor. He might have indulged in a herbal perfume, a pungent concoction intended to mask the smell of his unwashed body. This perfume, however, was probably just as overpowering as Agnes's natural body odor, and Lady Eleanor, the noblewoman, adorned in silks and jewels, might have enjoyed a somewhat more frequent bathing experience compared to Agnes, but the communal nature of medieval baths means that the water was likely less than pristine. Her clothing, though luxurious, couldn't entirely prevent the accumulation of dirt and sweat. Her perfume, perhaps a blend of expensive spices, might have been an attempt to create a more socially acceptable aroma, but it still would not have reached the standards of cleanliness we expect today. The comparison highlights the vast gulf in hygiene standards between the Middle Ages and our present-day world. The absence of germ theory meant that medieval people lacked a crucial understanding of the link between hygiene and disease. We have made remarkable advancements in sanitation, public health, and personal hygiene since then. Our obsession with cleanliness, often seen as excessive by some, reflects a deep-seated understanding of the importance of preventing disease. This vast chasm between the past and present underscores the remarkable progress we've made in public health and personal well-being. The next time you take a shower, consider the long and arduous journey of hygiene and appreciate the abundance of clean water and sanitation technology at your fingertips. It's a journey that would truly shock and possibly disgust our medieval ancestors. The olfactory landscape of the Middle Ages was, to put it mildly, a pungent affair. Forget the delicate floral notes and subtly musky undertones of modern perfumes. Medieval scents were all about power, about obliterating the ever-present aroma of unwashed bodies. Think less Chanel No. 5. More a battlefield after a particularly sweaty siege. These weren't perfumes intended to enhance one's natural scent. They were designed as a full-scale assault on the nose, a desperate attempt to create a more socially acceptable olfactory environment. Imagine a bustling medieval marketplace. The cacophony of sounds, the bleating of sheep, the haggling of merchants, the clang of a blacksmith's hammer, is matched only by the sheer assault on the senses. The air hangs heavy with the smells of rotting fish, uncollected waste, and yes, the pervasive aroma of unwashed humanity. The The concept of daily bathing was, for many, a foreign one, making body odor an inescapable aspect of daily life. In this environment, perfume wasn't a luxury. It was a necessity, a crude but effective form of biological warfare against the unrelenting stench. These medieval fragrances weren't subtle. We're not talking about a hint of lavender or a whisper of rose. Instead, think strong, potent concoctions, often a bizarre blend of herbs, spices, and other aromatic ingredients. Rosemary, for instance, was a popular choice, not just for its pleasant scent, but also for its supposed medicinal properties. People believed its strong aroma could ward off illness and disease, a belief, thankfully, not entirely accurate. Other common ingredients included cloves, cinnamon, and various other spices, all chosen for their potency rather than their delicate fragrance. Imagine a perfume that smelled like a Christmas spice rack exploded next to a blacksmith's forge. That gives you a fairly accurate picture of the average medieval scent. The production of these perfumes was a far cry from the sterile laboratories of modern perfumery. It was a less refined, more improvisational process, often involving a combination of readily available ingredients and a healthy dose of trial and error. Consider the pomanders, small balls of fragrant materials encased in perforated containers, often worn as jewelry or placed in rooms to combat unpleasant smells. These were essentially medieval air fresheners, a valiant, though often unsuccessful, attempt to purify the air. The creation of these pungent concoctions also varied drastically depending on the availability and cost of ingredients. A wealthy noblewoman could afford expensive imports like exotic spices and fragrant resins, allowing her to create a perfume that was both potent and surprisingly sophisticated, at least by medieval standards. Her perfume, while still a far cry from modern standards, would be a far cry from the more basic blends used by the common folk. This resulted in a curious social hierarchy of scents. The most pungent, the most overpowering aromas often indicated the highest social standing, a bizarre inversion of our modern preferences. The ability to mask one's natural body odor with a luxurious, albeit still strong scent was a display of wealth and status. Imagine Agnes, the peasant woman mentioned earlier. Her access to fragrant materials was severely limited. Her perfume, if she could even afford such a luxury, would likely consist of readily available herbs and perhaps a pinch of locally grown spices, a far cry from the exotic blends enjoyed by the nobility. Her daily life, filled with manual labor and limited access to water, would have ensured her scent was already quite powerful. Contrast this with Lady Eleanor, the noblewoman. She could afford the most expensive ingredients, potentially creating a perfume that was at least less offensive, but likely still incredibly strong by modern standards. The underlying body odor may be masked, but the replacement would be a powerful scent of exotic spices and resins. Such perfumes, while potent, would only serve to mask the lingering stench. Even Thomas, the merchant, would likely use a more refined perfume than Agnes, but the fundamental goal remained the same: masking the stench. His perfume might have been a blend of relatively common ingredients like rosemary, lavender, or perhaps some imported spices he'd obtained through his trade. Yet, even his carefully constructed concoction would have been a far cry from anything we'd recognize as a modern perfume. The use of these perfumes wasn't just about masking body odor, it was also a matter of social decorum. The strong scents helped to create a more pleasant social environment, at least to the extent that one could overcome the base smells of the Middle Ages. Consider the church, a crowded space where a large number of people would gather. The pungent perfumes of the time would have acted as a form of communal olfactory camouflage, attempting, however imperfectly, to create a somewhat more tolerable atmosphere for religious ceremonies and daily life. The irony, of course, is that these perfumes, designed to mask a lack of personal hygiene, often created their own unique form of olfactory pollution. The strong and often conflicting scents would have created a complex and overwhelming sensory experience, a kind of medieval sensory overload. The use of these perfumes speaks volumes about the challenges of maintaining hygiene in a society without modern sanitation and a sophisticated understanding of germ theory. Looking back at the medieval attempts at fragrance, it's easy to laugh at their clumsy efforts. But it also gives us a profound appreciation for the modern advances in hygiene and the sheer variety of scents and fragrances that are available to us today. The fact that our concerns now revolve around whether or not a perfume is too strong, rather than combating the sheer stench of human bodies, represents a monumental shift in societal priorities and advancements in public health. The next time you spritz on your favorite perfume, take a moment to appreciate the remarkably clean and fragrant world we inhabit, a world that would make our medieval ancestors gasp and possibly faint from the lack of familiar smells. Now, let's move from the surprisingly potent perfumes of the Middle Ages to another aspect of medieval personal care, or lack thereof: hair. While the overall scent profile of the era might have been enough to make a modern-day perfumer weep, the methods employed to maintain, or more accurately, to tolerate hair cleanliness were equally fascinating, and perhaps even more stomach-churning. Forget the gentle lather of modern shampoos and the conditioning treatments designed to leave your hair glossy and manageable. Medieval hair care was a far grittier affair, often involving ingredients that would send modern sensibilities reeling. And the most common ingredient, the one that would make even the most seasoned historical reenactor pause, was urine. Yes, you read that right. Urine, that golden elixir of the human body, although admittedly not in a good way, played a surprisingly significant role in medieval hair care. This wasn't some isolated practice, some fringe quirk confined to a remote village. The use of urine for cleansing purposes was widespread, albeit mostly among the lower classes who lacked access to more refined, and by refined I mean anything other than urine, methods of washing. Why urine? Well, the reasoning, though completely unfounded by modern scientific understanding, stemmed from the belief in its inherent cleansing properties. Urine was seen as a potent purifier, capable of removing dirt, grease, and other impurities. The logic, flawed as it was, likely rested on a combination of factors. Firstly, urine does contain ammonia, which does have some mild cleansing properties. This ammonia, however, would likely be diluted in the typical urine used, making its cleaning power negligible at best. Secondly, and perhaps more significantly, urine was readily available and free, a considerable factor in a time when most people struggled to secure even basic necessities. The process of using urine for hair washing was, to be kind, less than glamorous. There's no evidence of sophisticated rituals or elaborate hair washing ceremonies. It likely involved collecting the urine, probably not the freshest, perhaps diluting it with water, though this wasn't always the case, and then applying the mixture directly to the hair and scalp. Imagine the smell. The visual? Let's just leave it at that. The effectiveness of this method, needless to say, was questionable. While it might have removed some surface dirt, it likely did little to address any underlying hygiene issues. In fact, the repeated use of urine on the scalp might have even irritated the skin, possibly leading to various scalp problems. We can imagine Agnes, the peasant woman, rigorously scrubbing her hair with this unusual concoction, the pungent aroma clinging to her for days afterward. Let's hope, for her sake, that the smell of her urine-washed hair was somehow less offensive than her overall bodily odor. It's important to remember that this wasn't simply a matter of personal preference. Access to clean water was a major constraint for many people during the Middle Ages. Frequent bathing was simply not feasible for a large segment of the population. This lack of access to clean water extended to hair washing as well, forcing people to rely on available, albeit unsavory, alternatives. Thus, urine, in its crude and unsophisticated way, filled a vital, though certainly not desirable role in medieval personal hygiene. What about those with more means? Did wealthier individuals have better hair care options? To a degree, yes. They might have had access to more sophisticated cleansing methods, potentially using herbal infusions or other less pungent, though likely still strong, mixtures for washing their hair. But even for those with resources, the concept of regular, thorough hair washing was different than what we are accustomed to. Remember, the medieval concept of clean was very different from ours. Regular cleaning was a concept of limited application in all aspects of hygiene, hair included. A quick rinse with herbs wouldn't remove grease and dirt in the way a modern shampoo can. Instead, it would have provided a slight improvement, a superficial layer of acceptable cleanliness. Lady Eleanor, with her access to a wider variety of herbs and possibly even imported ingredients, might have indulged in a more fragrant and, relatively speaking, pleasant hair washing experience. But even her hair care routine would have fallen far short of the modern standards. Think of it like a medieval version of a natural hair wash, but with an emphasis on the natural aspect being found in nature itself and not on the sophisticated techniques we find in modern products. Thomas, the merchant, might have had access to certain soaps or herbal mixtures that offered a slight improvement over urine, reflecting his somewhat better social standing. But the underlying reality remained. Access to clean water and effective cleansing agents was limited for almost everyone, resulting in a rather unappealing standard of hair care for the entire population. Contrast this with the plethora of hair care products available today: shampoos targeting specific hair types, conditioners designed to repair damage, and countless styling products offering an array of looks. We have specialized tools, from luxurious brushes to intricate hair dryers, all designed to achieve that perfect hairstyle. The sheer variety of hair products available reflects a profound shift in our understanding of hygiene and personal care. The evolution from urine-based hair washing to the modern world of shampoos and conditioners is a testament to the remarkable progress we've made in sanitation, technology, and our understanding of personal hygiene. It's a journey that vividly demonstrates how far we've come, a journey marked by a significant and thankfully decisive departure from the less than desirable methods of our medieval ancestors. The next time you reach for your bottle of shampoo, take a moment to appreciate the remarkable transformation in hair care practices. Consider the advancements in chemistry, the innovations in manufacturing, and the sheer luxury of clean water, readily available at the turn of a tap. The pungent aroma of urine-washed hair is a distant and thankfully forgotten memory, a stark reminder of the progress we've made. We've traded the earthy scent of ammonia for the fruity, floral, or whatever your preference is scent of the modern day, and that's something to celebrate. Our hair and our noses are eternally grateful. And let's not even start on the advancements in dealing with dandruff. Medieval methods were quite creative, if nothing else. Let's just be thankful for the advanced science and technology that has given us options better than what was available to the medieval world. Our hair and our noses thank you. Now, having journeyed through the surprisingly pungent world of medieval hair care, let's broaden our scope to examine the overall social attitudes towards cleanliness during this period. It's a fascinating and sometimes truly revolting exploration into a world where the concept of hygiene differed dramatically from our own. To put it mildly, the average medieval person wouldn't exactly win any awards for cleanliness by modern standards. But to simply label them as dirty is a gross oversimplification, ignoring the complex interplay of social, economic, and even religious factors that shaped their understanding, or rather misunderstanding, of hygiene. The connection between cleanliness and health was largely absent from the medieval worldview. Germ theory, the understanding that microscopic organisms cause disease, was centuries away. The prevailing medical understanding of the time focused on the balance of humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, and the influence of celestial bodies. Illness was seen as a consequence of an imbalance in these humors, or as a divine punishment rather than a result of unsanitary conditions. This lack of understanding significantly impacted attitudes towards cleanliness. Washing, for instance, wasn't viewed as a preventative measure against illness, but rather a potentially harmful activity that could disrupt the delicate balance of humors. This is not to say that the medieval people were entirely oblivious to dirt. They certainly recognized filth, but their response to it was often drastically different from ours. Dirt, in many cases, was simply accepted as an unavoidable fact of life, particularly for the vast majority of the population who lived in crowded, unsanitary conditions. The concept of personal hygiene was far more rudimentary, with infrequent bathing and a general tolerance for body odor that would likely make modern individuals flee in horror. Consider the urban environment. Cities were incredibly dense, with waste disposed of haphazardly in the streets. Sewage systems were rudimentary or non-existent, leading to a constant accumulation of refuse and an overpowering stench. The smell alone would be enough to make the most seasoned garbage collector of today think twice. Disease was rampant. but the link to the filth surrounding them was not fully grasped. It's easy to judge their practices with 21st century hindsight, but it's crucial to remember that their understanding of the world and their ability to manage their environment was vastly different. The relative scarcity of clean water also played a significant role in shaping medieval attitudes toward cleanliness. Access to clean water was a luxury, not a given, particularly for the peasantry. Rivers and streams, often the only available water sources, served multiple purposes: drinking, washing clothes, disposing of waste, creating a vicious cycle of contamination. The very act of bathing could expose individuals to further infection, negating any potential benefit of the washing itself. This isn't to say that no one bathed. Bathing, particularly in certain contexts, could be considered a religious or social practice, albeit infrequent. The notion of daily showering would have seemed completely bizarre. Religious beliefs also influenced hygienic practices, sometimes in contradictory ways. While some religious orders emphasized cleanliness and ritual purification, others downplayed the importance of physical hygiene, focusing instead on spiritual purity. Fasting, prayer, and penitence were often given precedence over physical cleanliness. This complex interplay of religious views further complicated the overall approach to hygiene. Social class also played a significant role in determining levels of cleanliness. The wealthy elite, while not exactly paragons of modern hygiene, generally had better access to resources, including clean water and potentially more refined methods of cleaning. Their homes would have been cleaner than those of the poor, and they would have had more opportunities to wash themselves and their clothing. However, even amongst the wealthy, the concept of clean differed significantly from our modern perspective. Let's consider the use of perfumes and scents. As previously discussed, the pervasive odors of medieval life led to the widespread use of perfumes and scented materials. However, these weren't used to prevent bad smells, but rather to mask them. It was an attempt to cover up, rather than eliminate the problem. Imagine a grand medieval banquet, a lavish affair with richly adorned tables laden with food and drink. Amidst the clinking of goblets and the murmur of conversation, a subtle undercurrent of unpleasant odors hangs in the air. Strong perfumes served as a sort of aromatic camouflage, a desperate attempt to make the unhygienic environment more bearable. The transition from the medieval understanding of hygiene to our modern obsessions with cleanliness is a dramatic one. We've moved from a time where dirt was mostly tolerated to a time where a spotless environment is often considered essential for well-being. This shift is not simply a matter of increased awareness, but also a result of significant technological advancements in sanitation, medicine, and our understanding of disease. Clean water on demand, effective sewage systems, and the germ theory of disease have revolutionized our understanding and practice of hygiene. Perhaps the ideal approach to cleanliness lies somewhere between the medieval acceptance of dirt and the modern obsession with sterility, a balanced perspective, one that acknowledges the importance of hygiene while avoiding excessive anxieties about germs, might be a more realistic and sustainable approach to life. The medieval period serves as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of neglecting hygiene, but also as a counterpoint to our possibly excessive preoccupation with it. After all, a little bit of dirt never hurt anyone, or did it? The answer, as so often in history, lies somewhere in between. It is an intriguing journey from urine-washed hair to the sophisticated world of modern hair care, a testament to the remarkable progress we've made. It's a journey worth remembering and perhaps even laughing about. Chapter 2. Urine, the unexpectedly versatile cleanser. Now, let's delve into a particularly pungent aspect of medieval hygiene: the surprisingly widespread use of urine as a cleaning agent. Forget your modern-day antibacterial sprays and enzyme cleaners. For our medieval ancestors, the humble and decidedly unhumble urine was a cleaning powerhouse. Yes, you read that right, urine. The very substance we now associate with toilets and, well, unpleasantness, was once a valued commodity in the medieval household. The evidence for this practice, while perhaps not something one readily volunteers to discuss at a dinner party, is surprisingly plentiful. Medieval texts, illuminated manuscripts, though not usually highlighting this particular detail, and even archaeological finds point to the use of urine in a variety of cleaning contexts. From laundry to teeth cleaning, yes, you read that correctly again. Urine played a surprisingly significant role in medieval domestic life. The rationale behind this peculiar practice lies in the chemical composition of urine. Specifically, urine contains ammonia, a powerful cleaning agent that breaks down grease and grime. Before the advent of modern detergents, ammonia, naturally occurring in urine, offered a readily available and, to the medieval mind, readily accessible cleaning solution. We might shudder at the thought today, but imagine the reality. Clean water was a scarce resource, and while soap existed, it was expensive and not widely available to everyone. Urine, on the other hand, was readily at hand, pun intended. Consider the process of medieval laundry. Washing clothes was a laborious task requiring time, effort, and critically a substantial amount of water. Soaking clothes in urine, often mixed with other ingredients like ashes or lye, which, in its own right, wasn't exactly a spa treatment, was a common method to pre-treat soiled garments. The ammonia in the urine would help break down stains and dirt, thus making the task of washing somewhat easier and reducing the need for copious amounts of water. Imagine your great and so on grandmother's laundry day and substitute the washing machine for a trough of urine-soaked clothes. It's a vivid, if not entirely pleasant image. The use of urine wasn't limited to laundry. Medieval texts also offer hints, and sometimes quite explicit descriptions, of its application in cleaning other household items. Some manuscripts even refer to its use in cleaning floors and walls. Imagine the aroma. Think of it as a rudimentary, albeit strongly smelling version of our modern floor cleaners. The pungent ammonia would have helped to disinfect, to a limited degree of course, and remove grime from surfaces. The effectiveness from a modern perspective would certainly be debatable, but its usage underscores the resourcefulness of medieval people forced to make do with what they had available. But perhaps the most surprising application of urine in medieval hygiene was in dental care. Yes, you read correctly yet again. While the thought may send a shiver down your spine, various historical accounts suggest that urine was sometimes used to clean teeth. The ammonia, again, played a crucial role, helping to break down food particles and perhaps even reduce some level of bacterial growth. We must bear in mind that the concept of modern dental hygiene was completely unknown. Cavities and tooth decay were common, and any method that helped alleviate discomfort, even if it seemed bizarre to us today, would have been sought after. One can easily imagine the medieval dental regime. A quick swish of urine around the mouth, followed by a thorough spitting. One shudders to think of the next step. However, it's important to remember that the use of urine was often coupled with other ingredients that were considered to have medicinal properties. We must also contrast this with the common practice of simply not cleaning teeth at all. Urine may not seem so horrific when compared to this. It's worth pondering the social context of urine usage. The relatively less affluent would have needed to use every resource to keep themselves and their property somewhat clean. The readily available nature of urine was particularly important, and likely even the necessity for many who did not have access to soap and water. It should not be viewed as a purely disgusting aspect of the medieval period, but one of resourceful necessity. Now, let's fast forward to the modern era. Our approach to cleaning has, thankfully, evolved significantly. The chemical industry has provided us with a plethora of sophisticated cleaning agents, designed for specific purposes and formulated to be both effective and, importantly, inoffensive. From powerful disinfectants to gentle all-purpose cleaners, we have a wide range of choices that are far removed from the pungent solutions of the medieval period. Yet, despite the vast difference in our approaches, a subtle continuity persists, the basic principle of using chemicals to dissolve grime and remove stains. The contrast between the medieval reliance on urine and our modern cleaning methods is stark. It highlights the enormous advancements we've made in hygiene and sanitation. The shift reflects not only our improved understanding of chemistry and microbiology, but also our evolving societal standards of cleanliness. We are now acutely aware of the connection between hygiene and health, a connection that was largely absent from the medieval worldview. It's important to avoid overly simplistic judgments of past practices. While the use of urine as a cleaning agent might seem bizarre and even revolting from a modern perspective, it's crucial to understand it within its historical context. The medieval people were operating within the confines of their knowledge, resources, and beliefs. Their understanding of cleanliness was profoundly different from ours, shaped by factors ranging from limited access to clean water and the absence of germ theory to prevailing social and religious beliefs. Looking back at this practice, we can't help but marvel at the resourcefulness of our medieval ancestors, who managed to create effective, to a degree, cleaning agents from readily available resources. While we may never consider following their methods, it should be a moment to appreciate the significant advancements in cleaning and hygiene we enjoy today. Our modern cleaning products are a far cry from urine, but their underlying principle remains remarkably similar: to effectively combat dirt and grime. So the next time you use your favorite cleaning spray, pause for a moment to appreciate the extraordinary journey from urine-based cleaning to our modern approach. A journey that highlights both our ingenuity and the advancements that have profoundly changed how we live. The story of medieval urine as a cleaning agent is not just a historical curiosity, but a reminder of the remarkable evolution of hygiene practices, a change that is truly something to be cleaned about. Beyond the seemingly simple act of urination lay a surprisingly complex world in medieval medicine. While we might recoil at the thought, urine, that most readily available of bodily fluids, held a prominent, if rather pungent, place in the medieval pharmacopoeia. Forget your carefully formulated pharmaceuticals. For medieval practitioners, the humble chamber pot offered a seemingly endless supply of potential remedies. The belief in the medicinal properties of urine stemmed from a worldview that saw the human body as a microcosm of the universe, a complex interplay of humors and vital energies. Urine, as a direct excretion of the body, was considered to carry within it a reflection of this internal balance, or imbalance. Its color, odor, and even consistency were meticulously examined, offering clues to the patient's overall health and the nature of their ailment. A pale, watery urine might suggest weakness, while a dark, cloudy sample could indicate a more serious condition. The subtle art of uroscopy, the examination of urine, was a cornerstone of medieval medical diagnosis. Imagine a scene. A physician, perhaps a learned monk or a traveling barber surgeon, holds a flask of a patient's urine up to the light, rotating it slowly, observing its color and sediment. He smells it cautiously, of course, before announcing his diagnosis. This wasn't some medieval quackery. Uroscopy was a widely accepted practice, documented in numerous medical texts, and its use continued for centuries. Its very persistence underscores a compelling point. Urine was viewed not as waste, but as a vital source of information regarding the patient's inner workings. But the medieval fascination with urine went beyond diagnosis. It was also prescribed as a remedy for an astonishing array of ailments. A particularly popular use was in treating eye diseases. Various medieval texts recommend washing the eyes with urine, a thought guaranteed to induce contemporary squeamishness. The belief was that urine possessed cleansing properties, capable of removing irritants and soothing inflammation. Whether it actually provided any therapeutic benefit is, of course, highly debatable by modern standards, but the practice speaks volumes about the limited options available to medieval physicians. Urine also featured prominently in the treatment of skin conditions. Scalds, burns, and even wounds were sometimes treated with urine applications, likely stemming from its perceived cleansing and antiseptic qualities. It's crucial to remember the lack of effective antiseptics in the medieval period. The dangers of infection were ever present, and while urine might not have been a sterile solution, it may have offered a somewhat better option than nothing at all, or perhaps even a more appealing alternative to other medieval remedies, such as leeching. Furthermore, urine found its way into remedies for internal complaints as well. Some medieval texts suggested drinking diluted urine as a treatment for kidney stones. The logic, as twisted as it may seem, was that since urine was produced by the kidneys, it could somehow help flush out existing stones. The reality, of course, was likely far less effective and may even have worsened the condition. The use of urine in medieval medicine wasn't solely confined to direct application. It also became an ingredient in complex concoctions, often mixed with herbs, spices, and other substances believed to possess medicinal properties. These mixtures, the recipes for which are preserved in a number of medieval medical manuscripts, were prepared for a wide range of ailments, from digestive issues to respiratory problems. Consider the preparation of a supposed cure for toothache. This recipe may have involved a mixture of urine, various herbs, and perhaps some crushed gemstones. Because why not? The concoction, after mixing and stewing, would be applied directly to the aching tooth or gargled. It's a far cry from the local anesthetic used today, and the effectiveness remains as speculative as the ingredients themselves. However, we must also remember that the alternative was likely much worse. The extraction of teeth was far from uncommon, and in the medieval era, this was done without anesthesia. One might assume that the application of such remedies was the domain of the professional healers, but that would be an oversimplification. Many medieval people relied on home remedies, passing down remedies and cures through generations. Urine, being so readily available, became an essential component of the household medicine chest, utilized for a vast array of complaints. Mothers used it for their children's ailments, wives for their husbands, and individuals for themselves. It was a resource readily accessible to all social strata, rich and poor alike. The prevalence of urine-based remedies highlights the stark contrast between medieval and modern medical practices. The absence of germ theory and the limited understanding of human physiology led to the acceptance of treatments that appear bizarre, if not completely appalling, by modern standards. Yet, these remedies must be viewed within the context of the time. In an era without effective antibiotics or analgesics, urine, with its perceived cleansing and therapeutic properties, offered a readily available, albeit unappealing, option. The persistence of uroscopy and the widespread use of urine in medieval medicine is a testament to the resourceful nature of medieval people. It also underlines the profound changes in medical knowledge and practices that have occurred since the Middle Ages. While we have now thankfully moved beyond using urine as a panacea, the story of its extensive use provides a fascinating glimpse into the medical world of a time long past, reminding us of how far we have come in our understanding of health and disease. It also serves as a reminder that sometimes history's most compelling narratives aren't always the most fragrant. The tale of medieval urine in medicine is a pungent reminder of the evolution of medical thought. And perhaps, just perhaps, it's a slightly less pungent reminder to be grateful for modern medical advancements. The surprisingly versatile applications of urine in the medieval world extended far beyond the realm of medicine. While the thought of applying urine to one's eyes or drinking it diluted might make a modern person shudder, the medieval use of urine in tanning leather is a different story entirely, albeit one that still carries a certain aroma. To understand the medieval tanning process, we must first grasp the critical role urine played in preserving animal hides and transforming them into the durable leather used for everything from clothing and shoes to saddles and bookbindings. The process began with the preparation of the hides themselves. After removing the fur or hair, the hides were soaked in water to loosen and remove any remaining flesh and tissue. This was often a labor-intensive process, sometimes involving scraping with tools or even using enzymes found in the stomach of certain animals. This initial cleaning step was crucial, setting the stage for the crucial urine-based tanning. Now let's step back into a medieval tannery. Imagine the scene. A dank, dimly lit workshop, the air thick with the pungent aroma of animal hides, water, and yes, urine. This wasn't a place for the faint of heart or nose. The smells, let's just say, were memorable, likely a potent cocktail of decaying organic matter and the distinct, well, earthy fragrance of human waste. Medieval texts don't typically mention air fresheners. They were probably more focused on things that wouldn't cause an outbreak of the plague. The key ingredient in medieval tanning was, of course, urine. Unlike modern tanning methods, which rely on carefully controlled chemical processes, medieval tanners used urine for its naturally occurring ammonia content. Ammonia, a byproduct of the breakdown of urea in urine, acts as a natural alkalizer and plays a crucial role in breaking down the collagen fibers in the hide, preparing it for the tanning process. In essence, the urine acted as a natural pre-treatment, softening and swelling the hide to make it more pliable and receptive to the subsequent tanning agents. This wasn't a quick process. It could take weeks, even months, depending on the size and thickness of the hides and the ambient temperature. The tanners would periodically inspect the hides, ensuring they were adequately treated with urine. The precise methods varied. Some might soak the hides directly in large vats of urine, while others might apply it repeatedly as a surface treatment. The result was a hide rendered softer and easier to work with, a process that greatly improved the quality and durability of the final product. Following the urine treatment, the hides moved on to the actual tanning process. While urine provided the initial preparation, other ingredients were essential for creating durable leather. The most common tanning agents were plant-based materials, particularly bark extracts like oak or willow. These plant extracts contain tannins, complex organic compounds that bind to the collagen fibers in the hide, creating a stable, waterproof, and resilient leather. This crucial step in the process transformed the soft, almost gelatinous hides into the tough, durable material we associate with leather. The combination of the urine treatment and the plant-based tanning yielded a leather that was both strong and flexible. This was not simply a matter of preservation. It was a transformation of a perishable material into a highly valued commodity. The quality of the leather was influenced by the source of the urine, the type of plant tannins used, and the duration of the treatment. Experienced tanners held their methods as closely guarded secrets, passing their knowledge down through generations, preserving techniques that had been refined over centuries. Now let's compare this time-consuming pungent process with the modern tanning industry. While the fundamental principle, the modification of collagen fibers, remains the same, the methods are vastly different. Modern tanning relies on highly controlled chemical processes, often utilizing chromium salts, chrome tanning, or vegetable tannins, vegetable tanning, with precise control over temperature, pH, and concentration. These modern techniques are vastly more efficient and often produce a more consistent, environmentally friendly product than the medieval methods. One might imagine the medieval tanners looking on with a combination of amazement and perhaps a slight hint of olfactory relief. However, let's not completely dismiss the ingenuity of the medieval tanners. Their understanding of the chemical properties of urine, however rudimentary, allowed them to effectively treat and preserve animal hides. Their methods, while smelly and arguably inefficient by today's standards, were well suited to their resources and technological capabilities. It is a testament to their resourcefulness that they successfully adapted readily available materials, in this case, urine, to a complex manufacturing process. Their techniques showcase a keen understanding of materials and an ability to utilize the resources available to them, achieving a surprisingly robust and successful outcome. And imagine the sheer amount of urine required for a medieval tannery to operate. This wasn't simply a few chamber pots. It was a significant undertaking, requiring the collection of urine from a considerable population. One can only speculate on the societal logistics involved in supplying a tannery with its pungent raw material, a true testament to the scale of the leather industry in the medieval period. It's a fascinating glimpse into a level of resource management that often gets overlooked. The odor alone is enough to make modern tanners grateful for modern processes and safety regulations. The medieval tanneries must have been truly unforgettable experiences for those who lived near them, a constant and pervasive reminder of the industry's unique and pungent process. While the methods themselves might seem crude and unsanitary by today's standards, they represent a remarkable example of human ingenuity and adaptation, a testament to the resourcefulness of those who lived in a time before modern chemical technology and sanitation. The medieval leather industry, with its reliance on urine, provides a wonderfully smelly, uniquely fascinating window into the resourcefulness and resilience of medieval craftsmanship, and perhaps a silent prayer of thanks for the modern world's advancements in both hygiene and the leather industry. The aroma may be something we can confidently leave in the past, but the ingenuity, perhaps with a little air freshener, deserves our continued admiration. The surprisingly pervasive presence of urine in medieval life extended far beyond the tanneries, permeating both public and private spheres in ways that would undoubtedly shock the modern sensibility. While the industrial application of urine in leather production offers a glimpse into its economic significance, exploring its everyday uses reveals a much richer tapestry of social interactions and cultural norms. Imagine strolling through a medieval town. The air, already thick with the smells of wood smoke, cooking fires, and unwashed bodies, would be further punctuated by a rather distinct and unpleasant odor. Urine, freely available and often considered a waste product, wasn't something to be discreetly disposed of. Rather, it served a surprisingly broad range of purposes in daily life. Streets, lacking the sophisticated drainage systems of modern cities, often served as open sewers, making the pungent aroma a constant companion for inhabitants. This wasn't simply a matter of poor sanitation, it was a reflection of the limited resources and technological capabilities of the era. Cleaning in the modern sense simply wasn't a priority in the same way it is today. The public use of urine extended beyond simply its unavoidable presence in the streets. It was a readily available cleaning agent, used to scour floors, wash clothes, and even clean certain household items. Consider the humble medieval kitchen. Without access to modern detergents, urine's ammonia content provided a surprisingly effective degreasing agent, tackling the stubborn stains left behind from food preparation. While the thought of washing dishes with urine might seem repulsive to us, for medieval people it was a practical, readily available solution. The lack of readily available alternatives, coupled with a different cultural understanding of cleanliness and sanitation, explains its widespread adoption. To them, the benefit of removing grease outweighed the olfactory drawbacks. This pragmatic approach to hygiene extended to personal care as well. While the infrequent nature of full-body baths is well documented, urine wasn't entirely absent from personal cleansing routines. Medieval texts, though scant on the specifics of daily hygiene, mention urine's use in washing hair. The ammonia's ability to cut through grease and dirt made it a surprisingly effective, albeit pungent, shampoo substitute. Again, the efficacy of the treatment would likely have been seen as exceeding the smell. Imagine the conversations at the medieval well. Buckets of urine and water sloshed alongside the more palatable water-only option for hair washing. No doubt there were strongly held preferences on either side. The social implications of urine use were significant, interwoven with the economic realities of the time. The availability of urine wasn't merely a question of individual access. It was tied to the size and structure of the community, the density of the population, and even the societal structure. Larger towns and cities would have generated significantly larger quantities of urine, resulting in a potential surplus that could have been channeled into various industries, like leather tanning, or even sold or traded. Urine in this context wasn't simply waste, but a resource with a potential economic value, a raw material as integral as wood or iron to certain trades and crafts. The sheer volume of urine needed for the leather industry alone highlights the role of communal resource management, illustrating a level of social organization often overlooked in depictions of medieval life. Private households, too, integrated urine into daily routines, although the specifics are harder to ascertain due to the lack of detailed personal accounts and inventories. Given its use in public cleaning, it's highly probable that urine would have featured in household cleaning practices as well. While we may not have detailed instructions on medieval cleaning schedules, we can infer its application based on its broader societal use. It's plausible that urine was used to clean floors, clothes, and even to pre-treat particularly stubborn stains before laundering. The methods might have been rudimentary, but they were effective within the limitations of the available resources. The use of urine, while seemingly repulsive from a modern perspective, was fundamentally connected to the economic realities of the medieval world. The lack of readily available alternatives for cleaning and tanning, coupled with the readily available supply of urine, led to its widespread adoption. The process wasn't simply a matter of convenience. It reflects the ingenuity and adaptation inherent in medieval society. People found practical uses for what we might consider waste, transforming something unwanted into a valuable commodity and a crucial element in daily life. In a time before modern sanitation, chemical processes, and abundant alternatives, urine wasn't just a bodily waste product. It was a resource, a commodity, and an integral part of medieval social and economic life. It is tempting, from the vantage point of our modern sanitized world, to view these practices with a mixture of disgust and amusement. However, to truly understand the medieval world, it is essential to consider their actions within the context of their available resources and their understanding of hygiene and sanitation. Their use of urine wasn't a matter of negligence or a lack of awareness. It was a pragmatic approach, a response to the challenges of daily life in a time that lacked our modern conveniences. The methods might seem crude, but they were effective and widely practiced. The widespread use of urine as a cleaning agent highlights the resourceful nature of medieval people and their ability to make use of available resources, however unconventional they might seem today. In a way, the use of urine in medieval life stands as a stark contrast to our modern sensibilities. Our emphasis on hygiene and sanitation often leads us to view such practices as unsanitary and unacceptable. However, understanding the social and economic context of urine's medieval applications helps to shift our perspective. It was a matter of necessity, resourcefulness, and societal acceptance, a testament to human adaptation in a time before readily available alternatives. The pervasive use of urine offers a fascinating and often humorous insight into the unique challenges and resourcefulness of medieval life, forcing us to reassess our own assumptions about cleanliness and sanitation. To dismiss it as simply dirty is to miss the historical narrative entirely, a story of ingenuity, resourcefulness, and a remarkably different approach to daily life. The lingering scent, though, we can likely agree is best left to the history books. And perhaps, just perhaps, the development of air fresheners was the truly revolutionary invention of the era. But the story of urine in the Middle Ages isn't just a tale of pungent practicality, it's also a surprisingly compelling precursor to modern chemistry and sanitation. While the image of medieval folk scrubbing floors with urine might elicit a grimace, it's crucial to remember that this seemingly crude practice laid the groundwork for future scientific advancements. The very act of observing and utilizing urine's cleaning properties, however unwittingly, spurred a nascent understanding of its chemical composition. The efficacy of urine in removing grease and stains, for example, stemmed from its ammonia content, a fact not explicitly understood at the time, but implicitly recognized through practical application. This experiential knowledge, accumulated over centuries of trial and error, proved invaluable in the eventual development of more sophisticated cleaning agents. Think of it as a very, very slow-cooked scientific experiment spanning centuries with a rather pungent aroma. The medieval understanding of urine's cleaning power was purely empirical. It wasn't based on a deep understanding of molecular structure or chemical reactions. Rather, it was a matter of observing that urine worked and then consistently employing it for tasks that required degreasing or stain removal. This constant, albeit unscientific, experimentation built a foundation of practical knowledge about the properties of urine, which eventually proved fertile ground for the blossoming of chemistry. Consider, for example, the development of soap. While soap making predates the Middle Ages, the medieval period saw continued refinement of these processes, often employing materials that might seem unusual to modern eyes. Urine's role in this story is less direct but still noteworthy. The processes of creating effective soap and using urine for cleaning tasks, while disparate in their methods, were both driven by the same underlying need: to remove dirt and grime. The accumulated knowledge of both processes, though separate, contributed to a broader understanding of cleaning agents and their properties. The transition from urine-based cleaning to more sophisticated methods wasn't a sudden switch, but a gradual evolution. As alchemists and early chemists began to meticulously investigate the composition of substances, urine became a subject of study. The extraction of ammonia from urine, a crucial step in the development of chemical industry, was a direct consequence of the medieval recognition of its cleaning properties. The pungent liquid, initially used for practicality, gradually transitioned from a commonplace cleaning agent to a chemical reagent, worthy of scientific investigation. This transition wasn't solely about the practical applications, it reflected a broader shift in societal perspectives on hygiene and sanitation. While medieval society may not have shared our modern obsession with cleanliness, the constant search for more effective cleaning methods, a quest propelled partly by the limitations of urine, pushed the boundaries of scientific inquiry. The move from rudimentary urine-based cleaning to more refined techniques wasn't simply a matter of increased sanitation, but a crucial step in the development of chemical science. Furthermore, the very availability of urine in such large quantities prompted a deeper engagement with the concept of waste management. While medieval cities lacked sophisticated sanitation systems, the sheer volume of urine generated highlighted the need for more organized approaches to waste disposal. This practical necessity, spurred by the ubiquitous nature of urine, helped shape urban planning and public works projects in later centuries. The focus on managing waste, even if initially limited to urine, laid the groundwork for future developments in sanitation and public health. The issue wasn't just about avoiding the smell. It was about managing a significant byproduct of a densely populated community. Interestingly, the historical narrative of urine's use in medieval times also reflects a significant shift in the cultural perception of waste. What was once considered a readily available cleaning agent or a byproduct of the leather-making process gradually became a topic of scientific inquiry. This change reflects a growing understanding of the potential benefits of analyzing and understanding materials we might previously have dismissed as waste. Urine, the humble, pungent liquid, became a valuable case study in the ongoing evolution of chemical understanding. The transition speaks volumes about the remarkable shift from a resource-driven, practical usage of urine to a more analytical, scientific investigation of its composition and potential. The story of urine's legacy isn't confined to cleaning practices. It extends to the development of medicine as well. Urine analysis, a practice dating back to antiquity, continued in the Middle Ages, although often intertwined with astrology and humoral theory. While medieval understandings of urine's diagnostic potential were rudimentary, they laid the groundwork for the development of more scientific approaches in later centuries. The routine observation of urine color, consistency, and odor, however unscientific, represented an early form of medical diagnosis, a crude but persistent effort to understand the body's inner workings through the study of its waste products. The gradual shift from medieval practices to modern hygiene wasn't just about replacing urine with soap and detergents. It was about the evolution of our understanding of chemistry, microbiology, and sanitation. It was a long, often smelly journey from using urine as a cleaning agent to understanding the complex chemical processes that underlie effective sanitation. The transition highlights the intricate interplay between societal practices, scientific advancements, and the evolution of public health. In conclusion, the medieval use of urine, far from being a mere historical curiosity, presents a surprisingly significant chapter in the history of sanitation, chemistry, and medicine. It demonstrates the ingenuity of medieval peoples adapting to limited resources and a distinct understanding of hygiene. But more importantly, it underscores how even seemingly unsavory practices can contribute to the evolution of scientific knowledge and ultimately lead to the advancements we enjoy today. The transition from chamber pot to chemistry highlights the unexpected pathways of scientific progress, a journey often paved with pungent, surprising, and rather amusing historical precedents. So, the next time you use a modern cleaning product, spare a thought, and perhaps a discreet sniff, for the surprisingly impactful legacy of urine in the history of hygiene. The progress, while undeniably significant, was far from fragrant in its origins. Chapter 3. A Clean Sweep. The Evolution of Hygiene. The year is 1347. The Black Death, a malevolent shadow, creeps across Europe. Forget the romantic notions of valiant knights and courtly love. The reality was far grimmer. A relentless dance macabre played out in the filth-choked streets of medieval towns and villages. The stench, a constant companion, was a potent mix of rotting refuse, human waste, and the ever-present aroma of unwashed bodies. Hygiene, as we understand it, was practically non-existent, and yet, ironically, this horrifying plague, this ultimate expression of unsanitary conditions, became a catalyst, however unintentional, for a gradual shift towards better hygiene practices. The initial response to the plague was, predictably, chaotic and utterly ineffective. Understanding of disease transmission was rudimentary at best, a hodgepodge of superstitious beliefs and flawed medical theories. The prevailing humoral theory, which posited that illness arose from an imbalance of the body's four humors, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, led to treatments that were, to put it mildly, unhelpful. Bloodletting, purging, and other similarly drastic measures were commonplace, often exacerbating the situation rather than alleviating it. The concept of contagion, while hinted at in some ancient texts, was largely misunderstood, and the connection between filth and disease remained largely unrecognized. People lived in close proximity to their animals, sewage flowed freely in the streets, and the very air hung heavy with the smell of decay. In this environment, the bubonic plague carried by fleas on infected rats thrived. The sheer mortality rate of the Black Death was staggering. Estimates vary, but it's believed that between 30% and 60% of Europe's population perished within a few short years. Entire villages were decimated. Families were wiped out. The death toll was so immense that it profoundly altered the social fabric of Europe. The unquestioned authority of the Church was challenged as its prayers and rituals seemed powerless against the relentless advance of the plague. Traditional social structures collapsed as fear and despair gripped the populace. Amid this devastation, a few changes, though slow and often unconscious, began to take place. The sheer scale of death forced communities to confront the realities of their unsanitary living conditions. The overflowing graveyards, the stench of death permeating the air, and the constant proximity to the sick and dying pushed some communities to take, however rudimentary, preventative measures. While the direct causal link between sanitation and disease transmission wasn't yet understood, the experience of the plague inadvertently highlighted the correlation. One of the earliest and most significant changes was related to waste disposal. Before the Black Death, the disposal of human and animal waste was haphazard at best. Sewage ran freely in the streets, attracting rats and other vermin. After the plague, several cities began implementing more organized, though still primitive by modern standards, systems for waste removal. This was not driven by any profound understanding of microbiology, but by the grim necessity of reducing the risk of further outbreaks. The stench was no longer simply a nuisance. It was a potential harbinger of death. Another unintentional consequence was a relatively increased emphasis on personal cleanliness, though this was still far removed from our current standards. The association between fleas and the plague, while not fully understood at the time, led some people to take measures to reduce flea infestations. This meant more frequent changes of clothing, though not necessarily regular washing, and some attempts to clean homes and streets more regularly. These actions, however, were often driven by fear and superstition rather than a scientific understanding of hygiene. The practices were more like rituals aimed at warding off evil spirits than genuine attempts at sanitation. The shift was further amplified by the emergence of new ideas in medicine. Although the humoral theory continued to dominate, some medical practitioners began to question its efficacy in light of the overwhelming failure to control the plague. The work of a few early physicians and scholars hinted at the possibility of contagion, paving the way for a more scientific approach to understanding disease transmission. However, this evolution was incremental, and it took centuries before a proper understanding of germs and their role in disease would emerge. The Black Death didn't lead to an immediate revolution in hygiene. Instead, it provided a grim backdrop against which small, slow changes began to emerge. The legacy of the Black Death in shaping hygiene practices was therefore indirect and gradual. The plague itself didn't create a sudden shift towards modern sanitation, but it acted as a powerful, if horrifying, catalyst. It forced a reconsideration of existing beliefs about disease and its transmission, inadvertently exposing the link between unsanitary living conditions and disease outbreaks. The improved waste disposal, though still rudimentary, represented a first step toward a more organized approach to public health. The increased attention, albeit fear-driven, to personal cleanliness, however rudimentary, paved the way for future improvements. The Black Death, then, though a tragedy of unimaginable proportions, unwittingly laid some of the groundwork for the evolution of hygiene practices that we take for granted today. The path from plague-ridden streets to modern sanitation was long and arduous, but the echoes of that terrible time continue to resonate in our understanding of public health and the importance of cleanliness. The gruesome irony of the Black Death is that out of immense suffering, a necessary and gradual progress toward a healthier world emerged. The lessons learned, etched in the collective memory of generations, ultimately pushed humanity towards a brighter, if still occasionally pungent, future. The road to clean streets and safe environments was a long and challenging one, but the seeds of change were sown in the darkness of the plague. The lingering stench of the Black Death's devastation hadn't entirely dissipated when the Renaissance dawned, but a new spirit was stirring, a spirit of intellectual curiosity and a burgeoning appreciation for human potential. This era, often romanticized as a rebirth of classical learning and artistic expression, also witnessed a subtle but significant transformation in attitudes toward cleanliness. While the medieval obsession with perfumes to mask body odor remained, the Renaissance brought about a slow but steady improvement in hygiene practices, propelled by a blend of practical necessity and evolving scientific understanding. One of the most striking changes concerned bathing habits. While bathing had never been entirely absent in medieval Europe, religious rituals often incorporated cleansing. The frequency and approach varied dramatically depending on social class and location. The Renaissance saw a gradual increase in the frequency of bathing, particularly among the wealthier classes. Public bathhouses, somewhat suppressed during the medieval period, experienced a revival, albeit with evolving aesthetics. These were not simply places for cleansing, they became social hubs, spaces for conversation, and even venues for illicit activities. Detailed descriptions of elaborate bathhouse rituals with scented oils and opulent surroundings pepper the diaries and writings of the era, painting a picture far removed from the infrequent, somewhat grim cleansing rituals of the medieval period. This increased emphasis on bathing wasn't solely a matter of personal comfort. A growing awareness, however vague, of the connection between cleanliness and health played a role. While the germ theory of disease was still centuries away, observations of improved health in individuals who bathed more regularly started to influence attitudes. The association wasn't always direct. Many still believed in the humoral theory, attempting to balance body humors through various methods, some of which involved bathing, but others which were far less beneficial. Nonetheless, the Renaissance represented a notable shift from the almost ritualistic aversion to frequent washing prevalent during the darkest periods of the Middle Ages. The Renaissance also saw advancements in the tools of cleanliness. Soap, while used in various forms throughout history, underwent a transformation during this era. New techniques for making soap, often incorporating fragrances and other ingredients, led to improved quality and wider availability. The production of soap became a more sophisticated process, with specialized workshops and an increase in trade related to its creation and distribution. No longer was soap merely a crude mixture of animal fats and ashes. It evolved into a product capable of different formulations, some softer, some stronger, for different skin types and purposes. This was a significant shift, as soap was becoming less a rarity and more a potential part of the daily routine of many. Alongside advancements in soap making, new cleaning methods began to emerge. The Renaissance saw innovation in the design of cleaning tools such as brushes, sponges, and mops. These improvements, however small, played a significant role in enhancing hygiene. While the concept of sterilization was still in its infancy, a greater attention to cleaning homes and workspaces, spurred by growing awareness, albeit still incomplete, of disease transmission, contributed to healthier environments. The influence of the printing press played a significant, if indirect, role in promoting better hygiene. The spread of information through printed materials helped to disseminate knowledge about medicine and hygiene, albeit slowly. While often mixed with superstition and inaccurate medical theories, The increased dissemination of information nevertheless accelerated the exchange of practices and fostered a climate more conducive to experimentation and refinement. The printing press, in a way, was acting as a hygiene catalyst, spreading information that eventually would contribute to improvements in this area. The Renaissance also marked a shift in social attitudes towards cleanliness. While perceptions of cleanliness remained far removed from modern standards, the concept of personal hygiene was slowly but surely moving from a peripheral concern to something more valued, albeit still tied to social status. The upper classes, with their access to better resources, increasingly prioritize cleanliness, creating a trickle-down effect, albeit a very slow one. The use of perfumes, while still prevalent, was gradually supplemented by a greater emphasis on actual cleanliness, rather than just masking unpleasant odors. It's crucial to avoid romanticizing the Renaissance as a golden age of hygiene. The level of cleanliness during this period would still be considered appallingly low by today's standards. Sewage systems remained rudimentary, disease outbreaks were common, and poverty still resulted in harsh living conditions for many. The advances were relative and incremental, not revolutionary. However, the transition represented a noteworthy shift in perspective. The burgeoning scientific curiosity, coupled with the increasing awareness, however incomplete, of the link between cleanliness and health, paved the way for future progress. The Renaissance, then, marks an important phase in the long, arduous journey toward improved hygiene. It was not a sudden leap, but rather a series of subtle shifts. Increased bathing, better soap, new cleaning methods, and a growing, if still imperfect, understanding of the relationship between sanitation and health represent vital steps in a long-term evolution. The change in attitude, though incremental, was significant. A slow but unmistakable move away from the almost fatalistic acceptance of filth and disease that characterized much of the medieval world. The Renaissance, in essence, laid the foundation, albeit a somewhat shaky one, for the more significant leaps in sanitation that would come in the centuries to follow. The seeds of modern hygiene practices, watered by the Renaissance's intellectual and practical advancements, were beginning to sprout, setting the stage for a cleaner, healthier future. While the improvements were far from sweeping, the Renaissance's contribution to public hygiene should not be underestimated. The combination of enhanced soap-making techniques, gradual improvements in waste disposal, though still woefully inadequate by modern standards, and a burgeoning recognition of a link between cleanliness and health laid vital groundwork for future progress. Consider the introduction of more organized, albeit still rudimentary, waste management systems in certain cities, the increased frequency of bathing, even if far from universally adopted, and the improving quality and availability of soap. These might appear like small steps, almost insignificant viewed through a modern lens, but they represented a profound shift from the medieval paradigm. It is in these seemingly small advancements that the true legacy of the Renaissance in improving hygiene is revealed. A legacy built not on sudden breakthroughs, but rather on a steady, incremental progression towards a healthier and cleaner world. The Renaissance didn't eliminate filth, but it did begin to change the way people thought about it, and that alone represents a massive step forward. The journey toward modern sanitation was a marathon, not a sprint, and the Renaissance served as a crucial, if sometimes messy, training ground for what was to come. The Renaissance, with its tentative steps toward cleaner living, laid the groundwork, but it was the scientific revolution that truly swept away the lingering miasma of medieval misconceptions about hygiene. For centuries, disease had been attributed to imbalances in the body's humors, miasmas, bad air, or divine punishment. The very idea of microscopic organisms causing illness was utterly alien. Imagine the conceptual leap required. Invisible creatures too small to see wreaking havoc on the human body. This wasn't simply a matter of better soap or more frequent bathing. It was a fundamental paradigm shift, a revolution in understanding the very nature of sickness and health. This revolution didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process, a painstaking accumulation of observations, experiments, and increasingly sophisticated tools. One of the key figures in this story, though his contribution wasn't immediately recognized, was Antony van Leeuwenhoek. A Dutch draper by trade, Leeuwenhoek was an obsessive lens grinder. He crafted incredibly powerful microscopes, far superior to anything available at the time, and used them to explore the microscopic world. What he saw astonished him, and would eventually astonish the world. He described animalcules, tiny moving creatures, in pond water, in his own saliva, and even in human feces. He meticulously documented his findings, sending detailed letters to the Royal Society of London, detailing his observations with a precision bordering on the manic. These letters, filled with exquisitely detailed drawings, are some of the earliest records of microorganisms. However, at the time, the significance of his observations remained largely unappreciated. The implications were too radical, too unsettling to be immediately grasped. The connection between these animalcules and disease remained elusive for some time. While Leeuwenhoek's discoveries hinted at a new understanding, the prevailing humoral theory held firm for decades. It was the work of others, building upon Leeuwenhoek's groundbreaking observations, that ultimately established the germ theory of disease. This wasn't a single eureka moment, but rather a gradual piecing together of evidence, a process involving numerous scientists and thinkers, each contributing a vital piece of the puzzle. Louis Pasteur, a French chemist and microbiologist, played a pivotal role in solidifying the germ theory. His experiments with fermentation and the spoilage of food demonstrated conclusively that microorganisms were responsible for these processes. He showed that microbes did not spontaneously generate from decaying matter, as previously believed. This was a crucial step, effectively refuting the theory of spontaneous generation, a cornerstone of earlier understanding of disease. His meticulous experiments, which involved swan-necked flasks designed to prevent contamination, were elegantly simple, yet brilliantly effective, proving once and for all that microbes came from other microbes. This fundamental concept challenged centuries of established beliefs and laid the foundation for understanding the transmission of disease. Pasteur's work extended beyond fermentation. He also made groundbreaking discoveries about the role of microbes in causing diseases like anthrax and rabies. His development of vaccines, offering protection against these deadly illnesses, was a direct application of the germ theory, a profound demonstration of its practical implications. This wasn't just theoretical science, it had tangible, life-saving applications. The impact of his work extended beyond immediate disease prevention to fundamentally altering our understanding of hygiene. Robert Koch, a German physician, further advanced the germ theory through his work on identifying specific bacteria responsible for particular diseases. His famous postulates outlining criteria for establishing a causal link between a microbe and a disease became a cornerstone of modern microbiology and epidemiology. These postulates provided a rigorous framework for scientific investigation, allowing for precise identification of disease-causing pathogens. Koch's work on tuberculosis, identifying the causative bacterium, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, was a landmark achievement, showcasing the power of the germ theory to pinpoint specific infectious agents. The acceptance of the germ theory wasn't immediate or universal. Many clung to older explanations, resistant to the radical implications of this new understanding. It took time for these revolutionary ideas to penetrate the established medical and scientific communities. However, the weight of accumulating evidence, coupled with the undeniable practical successes of techniques based on the germ theory, like vaccination, gradually won the day. The consequences of this paradigm shift were profound and far-reaching. The understanding that tiny, invisible creatures could cause devastating illnesses revolutionized approaches to hygiene. The focus shifted from vaguely understood miasmas and humors to the concrete issue of controlling the spread of microbes. This led to an explosion of innovations in sanitation, sterilization, and disease prevention. The development of antiseptic techniques, pioneered by Joseph Lister, a British surgeon, dramatically reduced the incidence of infections in hospitals and surgical settings. Lister, inspired by Pasteur's work, recognized that microbes were responsible for post-operative infections. His insistence on sterilizing surgical instruments and the use of carbolic acid as an antiseptic resulted in a significant drop in mortality rates among his patients. This was a truly revolutionary development, establishing the importance of sterile practices in medicine. The germ theory also spurred improvements in public health infrastructure. The construction of modern sewage systems, improved water purification techniques, and the widespread adoption of hand washing became essential elements of public health policy. These were not simply incremental improvements, they were fundamental changes in how societies approached the challenge of preventing disease. This newfound knowledge allowed for the development of public health measures that would save millions of lives. The consequences extended far beyond disease prevention. The germ theory led to the development of antibiotics, powerful drugs capable of killing bacteria. The discovery of penicillin by Alexander Fleming, a serendipitous yet remarkable achievement, marked a turning point in the fight against infectious diseases. Penicillin, and the subsequent development of many other antibiotics, drastically reduced the mortality rates associated with bacterial infections. This represented a truly profound and transformative advancement in medical capabilities, allowing physicians to treat a range of previously untreatable diseases. It's important to remember that even with these remarkable scientific breakthroughs, hygiene practices were slow to improve in many parts of the world. Poverty, lack of education, and inadequate access to clean water and sanitation continue to be major obstacles in preventing infectious diseases. The germ theory, though groundbreaking, does not magically eliminate the challenges of maintaining hygiene. Its enduring impact lies in providing a scientific understanding of disease transmission, informing public health initiatives, and motivating the relentless quest for better sanitation and disease control. In conclusion, the scientific revolution, with its discoveries regarding microorganisms and disease, represented a pivotal moment in the history of hygiene. This paradigm shift moved beyond the hazy beliefs and practices of previous eras, ushering in an era characterized by scientific rigor, effective public health measures, and revolutionary medical interventions. While the fight for improved hygiene continues to this day, the scientific revolution provided the essential understanding that made the ongoing struggle possible. The legacy of this period is a testament to the transformative power of scientific progress in improving the health and well-being of humankind. The fight for a cleaner, healthier world, once waged blindly, now benefits from the clarity and precision of scientific understanding, a legacy built upon the shoulders of those who dared to peer into the microscopic world and uncover its secrets. The Industrial Revolution, a period often romanticized for its technological marvels, was also a crucial turning point in the ongoing saga of hygiene. While the scientific revolution provided the theoretical framework, the understanding of germs and their role in disease, the Industrial Revolution offered the tools and infrastructure to put that knowledge into practice on a massive scale. Imagine the medieval world, where a simple chamber pot was the height of sanitation technology, contrasted with the burgeoning cities of the 18th and 19th centuries, grappling with the unprecedented challenges of dense populations and the resulting waste disposal problems. The sheer volume of human waste, coupled with the lack of effective sanitation, created a breeding ground for disease, a stark reminder of the fragility of human health when confronted with the unseen enemies lurking in filth and neglect. The transformation began, not with a single grand invention, but with a series of incremental improvements and innovations. The development of reliable pumps, for example, allowed for the efficient movement of water, a crucial element in both waste removal and water supply. Suddenly, the dream of clean, running water in homes, previously the privilege of only the wealthiest, became a practical reality for a growing segment of the population. This wasn't just about convenience. It represented a monumental shift in disease prevention. The ability to flush away human waste, instead of allowing it to accumulate in cesspools or be haphazardly disposed of, dramatically reduced the risk of waterborne illnesses like cholera and typhoid. This development wasn't without its teething problems, though. Early sewage systems were far from perfect. The design and construction of effective drainage and sewage networks required significant engineering expertise and careful planning. Many early systems proved inadequate, leading to backups, overflows, and the pollution of water sources. The challenges were immense. Urban growth outpaced the ability to construct efficient systems, resulting in periods of severe unsanitary conditions. However, the persistent efforts of engineers and public health officials gradually improved the design and implementation of these essential systems. The lessons learned from failures were crucial in perfecting these vital public health infrastructures. The creation of effective sewage systems was only one piece of the puzzle. The parallel development of improved water purification techniques was equally critical. The discovery of chlorine's disinfecting properties was a major breakthrough, allowing for the safe treatment of water supplies and the elimination of disease-causing microorganisms. The ability to reliably purify water on a large scale marked a fundamental shift in public health strategies. It was no longer sufficient simply to build sewage systems. The water supply itself needed to be actively protected from contamination. Beyond engineering marvels, the Industrial Revolution also brought about significant changes in the everyday practices of personal hygiene. While soap had been around for centuries, its widespread adoption and availability were greatly enhanced by mass production techniques. The standardization of soap manufacturing, along with its lowered cost, made it accessible to a wider population. This seemingly small change had a profound impact on personal hygiene. The increased use of soap contributed significantly to a decline in skin infections and other diseases associated with poor hygiene. The spread of knowledge about hygiene also played a vital role. Public health campaigns, initially sporadic and often ineffective, gradually gained momentum as the link between hygiene and disease became increasingly clear. Educational initiatives, posters, and public lectures promoted better hygiene practices, emphasizing the importance of hand washing, safe food handling, and proper waste disposal. These campaigns, though sometimes crude by modern standards, were essential in shifting public attitudes and behavior. The impact of these combined efforts was nothing short of transformative. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, mortality rates from waterborne diseases plummeted. Cities, once synonymous with filth and disease, underwent a gradual but remarkable metamorphosis into places where clean water and sanitation were the norm. This wasn't simply a matter of increased comfort. It was a matter of life and death. The modern conveniences we take for granted, flush toilets, clean running water, efficient sewage systems, are the legacy of this long and arduous struggle against disease. The contrast between the modern age of hygiene and the medieval world could not be starker. Imagine stepping from the stench of a medieval latrine into a modern bathroom with its gleaming porcelain fixtures and readily available clean water. The difference is not simply aesthetic. It is a chasm separating a world where disease was an ever-present threat, from one where the risk of many infectious diseases has been drastically reduced. The modern age of hygiene is, however, far from perfect. While significant advancements have been made, challenges remain. Inequalities in access to clean water and sanitation persist in many parts of the world, reminding us that the fight for hygiene is far from over. Developing nations still struggle with inadequate sanitation and water supplies, highlighting the stark reality that access to clean water and effective sewage systems is not a universal human right. The legacy of the Industrial Revolution, with its innovations in sanitation and public health, must continue to inspire ongoing efforts to bring clean and safe living conditions to everyone, regardless of their geographic location or socioeconomic status. The story of hygiene is not a linear narrative of progress. It is a complex interplay of scientific discoveries, technological innovations, public health initiatives, and social and economic factors. The journey from the unsanitary realities of the medieval world to the relative cleanliness of the modern age is a testament to human ingenuity and the power of collaborative effort in the face of adversity. While the quest for perfect hygiene remains an ongoing process, the progress made from the medieval period to the present offers a powerful narrative of hope and underscores the significance of sustained effort in the pursuit of a healthier, cleaner world for all. The work of Leeuwenhoek, Pasteur, Koch, Lister, and countless others laid the scientific groundwork, while the Industrial Revolution provided the tools and infrastructure to translate that knowledge into life-saving advancements in sanitation and public health. Their combined legacy, though imperfect, represents a profound achievement in the ongoing struggle for a healthier and more hygienic world, a testament to the enduring power of human ingenuity and our unwavering commitment to a cleaner future. Let's pause for a moment, perched atop this mountain of societal progress, and gaze back at the muddy, often malodorous path we've traversed. The journey from the medieval privy to the modern bathroom is a testament to human ingenuity, a saga spanning centuries, punctuated by moments of both breathtaking brilliance and surprisingly smelly setbacks. We've journeyed from a time when urine was considered a versatile cleaning agent, don't even think about asking me to elaborate, to an era of sterile operating rooms and readily available hand sanitizer. That, my friends, is progress. Think about it. The average medieval citizen likely wouldn't last a day in a modern hospital, not because of the advanced medical technology, mind you, although that would certainly play a part, but because the sheer cleanliness would be a sensory overload. The absence of pervasive odors, the constant access to clean water, the very idea of a regularly cleaned and disinfected environment, it would be a world utterly alien to their experience. Their concept of hygiene, shaped by centuries of limited understanding and practical constraints, is almost incomprehensible to us now. And yet, to dismiss the medieval approach as simply primitive is to overlook the ingenuity, however misplaced, that went into their systems. Consider the elaborate and surprisingly effective in some ways methods employed to manage waste in densely populated areas. While we might recoil in horror at the thought of overflowing cesspools, these systems, however rudimentary, served a vital purpose in their time. They were, in a twisted way, a form of waste management, however crude. Similarly, their use of herbs and perfumes, often strong-smelling concoctions that would probably knock out a modern-day perfumer, were attempts to mitigate the constant, overwhelming stench of everyday life. It wasn't effective sanitation, but it was something. The scientific revolution, with its emphasis on observation and experimentation, was crucial in transforming our understanding of hygiene. The invention of the microscope, and its use by pioneers like Antony van Leeuwenhoek, who painstakingly documented the teeming world of microorganisms, opened up a whole new dimension in our understanding of disease. Suddenly, invisible enemies previously blamed on miasma or divine retribution became visible, identifiable threats. This revolutionized our approach to hygiene. We were no longer fighting an unseen enemy, but a tangible one we could identify, study, and combat. Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch, giants of microbiology, built upon Leeuwenhoek's legacy, firmly establishing the germ theory of disease. This wasn't simply an intellectual exercise, it had profound implications for public health. The understanding that disease was transmitted through microorganisms rather than by bad air or imbalances in the humors paved the way for preventative measures like sterilization and sanitation that were far more effective than anything attempted in the medieval period. It was a paradigm shift, moving hygiene from a largely intuitive practice to a scientifically grounded approach. Joseph Lister, a pioneering surgeon, applied this new understanding to medical practices. His introduction of antiseptic techniques, such as sterilizing surgical instruments and using carbolic acid to clean wounds, dramatically reduced surgical mortality rates. Before Lister, surgery was a perilous undertaking, often resulting in infection and death. His innovations not only revolutionized surgery, but also highlighted the crucial role of hygiene in preventing disease. The sterile environments of modern operating rooms stand as a testament to his revolutionary work and the far-reaching impact of applying scientific knowledge to the field of hygiene. But scientific knowledge alone isn't enough to create a cleaner world. The Industrial Revolution provided the necessary infrastructure and technology to put this knowledge into practice on a massive scale. The development of reliable water pumps, advanced sewage systems, and improved water purification techniques were crucial breakthroughs. These weren't just engineering feats, they were public health triumphs. The ability to reliably remove human waste and provide clean water to large populations drastically reduced the incidence of waterborne diseases, leading to significant improvements in public health. The rise of public health initiatives played a pivotal role in shaping behavior. Public health campaigns, often employing methods that might seem crude or simplistic today, nevertheless educated people about the importance of hand washing, safe food handling, and proper waste disposal. These campaigns weren't always glamorous. They involved posters, public lectures, and sometimes blunt warnings about the consequences of neglecting hygiene. However, these initiatives helped to disseminate vital information and foster a widespread understanding of the link between hygiene and health. This shift in public awareness and behavior, coupled with technological advancements, was instrumental in creating a healthier and cleaner world. The 20th century saw an explosion of innovations in hygiene, from the development of antibiotics to the widespread adoption of vaccines. These advancements not only eradicated or drastically reduced the prevalence of numerous infectious diseases, but they also dramatically improved life expectancy and overall quality of life. The modern conveniences we often take for granted: clean running water, effective sewage systems, readily available soap and disinfectants, are the culmination of centuries of progress. It's a progress built on the shoulders of countless individuals, from medieval alchemists experimenting with herbal remedies to modern scientists researching the latest antiviral therapies. But the story of hygiene isn't just a linear narrative of progress. The disparities in access to clean water and sanitation remain a stark reminder that the fight for hygiene is far from over. Millions still lack access to basic sanitation, facing daily risks of waterborne diseases and other hygiene-related illnesses. This highlights a crucial point. The advancements we've made must be shared globally. The challenge isn't just about developing new technologies. It's about ensuring equitable access to these life-saving innovations for all. As we look back at the long and often bumpy road to modern hygiene, we are reminded of the remarkable advancements made since the Middle Ages. From the unsanitary conditions of medieval towns to the relative cleanliness of today's cities, the transformation has been nothing short of extraordinary. It is a testament to the human capacity for innovation, perseverance, and the power of collective action. Yet, this journey is far from over. The ongoing struggle to ensure that everyone has access to clean water and sanitation serves as a reminder of the crucial work that still needs to be done. The legacy of the past should propel us forward, inspiring continued efforts towards a future where hygiene is not a privilege, but a universal right. This journey from the reeking streets of medieval Europe to the relatively pristine environments of today's advanced societies has been fraught with challenges, setbacks, and surprising discoveries. We've learned from our mistakes, adapting our approaches and improving our technologies in response to new challenges, and a deeper understanding of the complex interplay of hygiene and health. The constant evolution of our understanding of microbiology, coupled with ongoing advancements in engineering and public health initiatives, represents a testament to the enduring human quest for a healthier and cleaner world. Our success is not a cause for complacency, but an impetus for continued innovation and global collaboration to ensure that the benefits of hygiene are available to all. The story of hygiene is ultimately a story of hope, a story of progress, and a powerful reminder that the pursuit of a cleaner, healthier future is a journey worth undertaking, one that continues to unfold chapter by chapter.